They steal your credit card numbers and social security information and personal data. Then they wheel and deal those information points on secret internet sites. Cyber criminals who fatten up their wallets while breaking your bank account. Now, here to show us how they do it, security expert and spokesperson for Affianon Security Center, Dan Clement. Dan, good to have you with us today.
Nice to meet you, Governor.
We're talking about something that affects a whole lot more people than I think we'd like to believe. 1 in 5 adults have had their credit and their security stolen in the last 2 years. How does credit card fraud happen anyway?
Well, most of the cyber criminals, which we have them in a live hacker chat room right behind me right now. This is live, real time. They're in this room right now buying and selling credit cards in real time. They get most of their credit cards by hacking into e-commerce sites, skimming waiters, car rental companies that steal the credit cards. They get them from a variety of sources. And once they gather them, they come into these chat rooms, which are global. These are international. And here is where they buy and sell them for as little as $2 a piece. The right-hand column is a list of the hack, and there's over 300 hackers in this room right now. And so they come in here from all countries all over the world. They come from Vietnam, China, Russia, Argentina. They don't know who each other are because they're anonymous, and via a nickname, they will sell you a credit card. They will sell you a credit card with a PIN. They will sell you a mother's maiden name. They even have the secret questions that you all answer.
Now, how do they get that stuff? You say, how do they mean the secret questions? I can get the credit card, the number, and this, the security code on it. But the secret questions and some of that information, how do they get that?
Well, they do it through phishing, which most of us know what phishing is if we've been online. You get that fake email from Citibank or Chase, and it's not really Citibank or Chase. It's the hackers trying to get you to put in your information. And a lot of people still fall victim to that because they just got on the internet. There's a lot of older people that get their first account, could have been 2 weeks ago. So they still don't know what phishing is. So they fill out that information, they hit PIN number, they hit mother's maiden name, they hit secret question, what's your dog's name, it's Spot, and they hit submit, and it goes to one of these hackers in this chat room, and then he will sell it to another guy to use. Now, or he'll use it himself.
How do you know that let's say you're ordering something online, and it may, ask you to set up an account. You set up an account and ask you some of those secret questions. You're pretty sure that that's legitimate, but how do you know when you have been scammed? What's the way to detect it? What can we do to start kind of watching out for ourselves?
Well, what you never do is you never click on a link in an email. Like if it says it's from Chase Bank, go to the browser window and type in chasebank.com.
Okay.
And make sure that in that browser window it says HTTPS, which is a secure site. So that's the first thing you do. Don't ever click on an email. What you also can do is make sure that when you're entering in your information, you may not want to use a debit card online because then they clean out your account and you have to fight to get that back. Try and use a credit card with a low limit. So these are some small things you can do to protect yourself online.
All right, let's talk about how big a problem this is. I mean, we talked about 1 in 5, but when we're talking dollar values, how big is this?
Well, this is a cumulative global marketplace where it's estimated anywhere from $10 to $50 billion a year is floating around the world in these chat rooms in real time. Because what happens is one guy in that right-hand column might hit Governor Mike Huckabee for $1,000. And usually our federal agents won't go after a guy in Vietnam who stole $1,000. It just doesn't make any sense from a resource standpoint. But when you multiply that by 300 hackers in this chat room times hundreds of these rooms, now you can see it's a multi-billion-dollar a year problem.
You're going to go online and you're going to contact one of these hackers, right?
Yes.
You're actually going to have us communicating with one of these
I'm going to ask them a question. I'm not going to do business.
I got you. I'm going to turn it over to you and your computer and tell us what you're doing. And when you say you're communicating to them, what's happening here?
Okay. What we have here in this chat room, if we look in the middle of the screen, we see a guy by the name of Man Reiki. And he says, and I'll read it to you, selling USA fulls and credit cards info, Social Security number, mother's maiden name, date of birth, $6. It also has a driver's license. If you want it, it's an extra $10. So they advertise here. If you want to conduct business with them and buy a credit card, you would just click on his name, which I clicked on a guy's name about 5 minutes ago. And I asked him, how much for a credit card? And he came back, and his name is Just Valid. That's his nickname. He said the UK, or the US, is $3. The UK is $5. Canada, $8. And Europe, $10. And the reason the U.S. is the cheapest is we have the most credit cards. It's just supply and demand. So you and I right now could conduct a sale with this guy and buy a credit card for $3 and go online and buy something and have it shipped to, let's say, an office in Brooklyn. Nobody can prove who was at this keyboard to buy that credit card. It's either you or me or one person in the audience.
I think it was one of the people in the audience. I've looked at some of these folks. I'm pretty sure it's one of them.
So that's the reason why our federal agents can't go to Vietnam or China because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And they can't prove who was sitting at the keyboard and bought a credit card.
So who are these criminals? I mean, are these people we walk by on the streets, or are these people that are sitting there operating in some foreign country?
Most of them are in foreign countries. If you're here sitting in Wisconsin and you conduct a crime over a long period of time, you could have the Secret Service knocking on your door to arrest you. If you're in Vietnam or in Nigeria or in a country where we have no extradition treaties, you're home free, and they know it. They literally mock us in these chat rooms, and I have a couple of screenshots showing where they're actually mocking us.
Show me what you're talking about here. I want to
Well,
see.
there's one screenshot here, which, as I mentioned, the U.S. was the cheapest. Here's the American flag. They've actually created a graphic of the American flag, and in it, they say selling U.S. credit cards, minimum order, 4 credit cards, selling fulls, Social Security number, date of birth, mother's name, PIN, routing number. Contact Slacks. Now, Slacks is not in Wisconsin. He's in Iran or Jakarta, somewhere internationally.
And if you were to contact him, then you're going to be able to buy these credit cards from him and then use them to buy stuff and hopefully get rid of those cards and buy some more.
Right.
So for the cost of, let's say, $3 in the U.S., you get a credit card, you make the transaction, you get out, and we, the credit card holders, are the ones who are going to be losing, plus the credit card companies, plus everybody else. This is a very expensive enterprise.
It is. All these costs are buried in the costs that we buy online. The banks pass along the costs to the online merchants. They pass along the cost to us. So that $50 billion I was talking about, it's buried under the rug. It's in the system. And we can't get these people. And over the last 12 years that I've been doing this, I've seen it go up. And it's not going to go away during our lifetime. Don't get me wrong. I love online banking. We shop online. It's here to stay for our lifetime. But we're naive to think that this problem's going away. It's not. It's going to increase.
Well, see, I love to do online shopping because I can do it 24 hours a day. I can do it from wherever I am. And with the travel that I do, it just makes a lot of sense. So now tell me, what do we do to protect ourselves? You said don't use the phishing scams where we, click on to a link in an email. But what else can we do? Surely there's more than that.
Right. Well, you said you shop online, you travel around. Your credit card is sitting in hundreds of databases, the rental car company, the hotel, whatever. So if you don't get a new credit card number, not a new account, your odds of being hacked are high. And sometimes you get a new credit card number on your anniversary when you get the new one in the mail. It's a new number, not a new account. So that prevents you from being hacked, like one of these sites that gets hacked. You also want to re-PIN. In other words, if you use a debit card online, which we don't recommend, but you should re-PIN every 6 months. It's a little bit of a pain. But what happens is when you use that debit card in these major retailers and you punch in the PIN number, there's cameras looking at you punching the PIN number. And the retail clerk will just rewind the camera. He has your PIN number, and he has your transaction number, and he'll clean out your debit account. And in that world, when your PIN is used, your bank assumes you're guilty until proven innocent. It's very difficult.
And what about other services? I mean, are there ways that we can register or know who we're doing business with, that kind of thing? I mean, I think this is going to scare a whole lot of people thinking, I'm not even sure I want to use a credit card or do anything online.
No,
we have to.
You have to use it online. We just recommend that you get products and services that are preemptive. In other words, if something's going to happen, they're going to notify you. For instance, credit monitoring from your bank. If somebody opens a Macy's account in your name, and you weren't the one that opened a Macy's account, and you get the inquiry, that's a heads up. You could be a victim of identity theft.
Now, does that mean if you get some letter from your bank, or maybe the question comes in, or you get notification that someone's doing a credit check on you, is that a sign?
It's a sign if you don't recognize the person, yeah. If it's Macy's and you've never been to Macy's, you need to investigate that. Another thing is if you see a $1 charge on your credit card or your debit account from the redcross.org, that's one of these guys like Slacks testing your card at the redcross.org for $1 to see if it's good. Then he'll go and sell it. And a lot of people, when they see a $1 charge to a donation site, they don't really do anything. They just say, oh, it must be a mistake. They're pinging your card to see if it's good. It's a wild world out here.
Honor among the thieves.
Well, there is none, but in that case, maybe, yeah.
Dan Clement, thank you very much. I hope we maybe will spare some of you from the agony of being the victim of a cybercrime, but it does make it pretty evident that any of us are vulnerable.